This is Messages from the Universe with Laurie Wondra of Your Life Core. Here, Laurie delivers information from the Mastery Realms related to astrology, planetary influences, energy surges, and generally how we are evolving. She connects with angels, guides, ascended masters, astro beings, and those that come forward with messages to help us on our journey. Welcome, everyone, to Messages from the Universe podcast.
Hello, this is Laurie Wondra, and thank you for listening. Let's talk about timelines collapsing and dive into timelines collapsing, and worlds collapsing, the lower, middle, and upper. First, let's define what I mean by collapsing timelines. Well, we live on Earth in a three-dimensional environment. Here in this dimension, all is governed by time. We register time with our birthdays, our age, our clock, 24-hour clock, our days, our weeks, our months. We measure by inches, feet, yards, or miles, or millimeters, or centimeters, or decimeters, meters, or kilometers. Our numbering system is upward, 0 to infinity. We can go backwards and go negative. We measure in vibration, temperatures, flow, and pressure. All is related to time and on a fixed scale. We have to have a starting point or a foundation. And if you believe in dimensions, you may believe that you live in multi-dimensions all at one time, or versions of you live in multi-dimensions. It's a different concept. That we do not live in one time or one timeline at a time, but we live in multiple places or multiple dimensions at all times. Like a multiprocessor, when we talk about technology and computers, we have the capability to process more than one thing. And if you believe in multiple lives, you may also believe that some of those past lives have had unresolved issues or learnings. You may have even learned skills or a trade during those lifetimes. You may have sustained physical, emotional, or mental injuries that left your energy field fragmented, broken, split, shattered. You may believe that this lifetime, you may have also sustained trauma or illness that has fragmented your field. In your DNA, we know scientifically we carry cellular memories of 7 lifetimes. And your mother, father, grandparent, great-grandparent, all of your ancestors also may have wounds, learnings, teachings, and skills that are carried in the DNA. There may be earth events, wars, global experiences, climate changes, food scarcities that have been imprinted on the environment or imprinted on your cellular structure. The sun acts as a gateway, so we look at solar flares and how they might impact us. Planet energy also creates a vibrational pulse. For example, Pluto deals with power, our personal and non-personal, and radical change, death and rebirth, and the chance to dive into our shadow sides of us. It pulls up the hidden parts of us, those shadow pieces that we want to hide or we maybe don't know exist, and gives us an opportunity to assess them, learn about them, release them, and create something different. On a scientific and sound healing vibration, Pluto vibrates to the note of C, and that is often associated with our root chakra. The root chakra is also where we store guilt and fear, and it vibrates at 396 hertz or 396 hertz. And if I reduce that 3 plus 9 plus 6, I reduce it reduces to the number 9. So that functions as an energetic gateway for release or renewal, or release and receiving. The root chakra is about survival instinct, hereditary, self-preservation, physical sensation, self-esteem, and movement. We will feel this energy more in our legs, our feet, our kidneys, our immune system, blood, bladder, the rectum, and the male productive organs. If you talk about oneness and believe it means as humans, we are all moving to a place of connectedness, higher consciousness, love, and understanding, where we treat all as equal because we believe and live as if we are all one. Well, it's really bigger than that. There's a lot of hope and belief on the streets that we're moving towards this beautiful place of all loving and living in more of a peaceful place. And that is a great belief and a great hope and a great goal to work towards. But it's also going to take a lot of time and work and understanding to move that direction. And the reality is not everybody is moving in that direction. It can seem overwhelming and impossible to ever achieve or see this achievement in one's lifetime. I want to talk about oneness and the impacts and what it means from our individuality, what it means as we are aligning to a deeper understanding of one for us as individuals. From that perspective of one, only then can we look at the collective. We have to be healthy ourselves before we join any sort of collective for the movement in higher consciousness. Time is an element of 3D for this lifetime. I've lived within the boundaries of 3D, and so have you, and so do you. But I know that I have unlimited time. Do you know you have unlimited time? I've proven this concept to those around me for years of being accomplished and appearing super busy in an abnormal sense because I do know I have unlimited time and resources. I do know I have helpers and teachers and wisdom keepers, and sometimes those helpers are angels, guides, loved ones, nature, the elements, the planets. It can also be ceremony, karma, dharma, imprints, and tools of the universe. I know I have an opportunity to awaken those helpers, those tools, those gifts, those things that are around me, those things that are unseen to help me reach into something that I might not have in my 3D world, or to shift what I believe I do have in my 3D world. And Pluto is helping us at this moment in time. Pluto is named after the Greek god of the underworld, Hades. Pluto is associated with all things below the surface. Besides representing unearthing the truth and showing the real power status, Pluto also symbolizes progress, evolution, and intensity, as well as the cycles of rebirth and destruction. I like to say destruction and rebirth. It shows us what needs to die out or move on and what opportunities are there to be birthed, provided we see them, accept them, look for them. To collapse our personal timelines, we are healing, understanding, experiencing weird stuff, forgetting and remembering. We're experiencing it physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Collapsing timelines means we're taking those events, those fragmented pieces of us, those things that are partial or parts of our soul, and bringing it into here and now, into one timeline, into present, into what we believe is the present. We don't want to take fragmented pieces with us to other places. We need to heal this. Or maybe a better way to look at it is we get to heal it because maybe in past lifetimes we haven't had that opportunity, and it's the universe helping us to align itself also to the timelines. Some of the questions that I hear on a regular basis as people are contemplating who they are, why they're here, what their purpose is. Keep in mind, if you had different purposes from different lifetimes and those are collapsing, you're feeling like I have to do so much, or there's confusion around what is my purpose. The questions that I hear more frequently these days are angels real? Should I talk to my loved ones that have died? Or is that dark or bad energy where I should talk to God and only God? That might be an example of an old belief that suddenly arises and needs to be understood and resolved. We are questioning what we know and certainly what we believe. We're also questioning what we don't know. We're getting frustrated with the length of time and feeling the transition is taking too long, or feeling we don't understand it. Some might feel they're already through the transition and bravely say they're done until they have another experience. They have another knowing or a learning, or they're part of somebody else having an experience. It really is a magical time, and it's also very challenging and confusing. That root chakra is getting shaken awake. It's calling for different stability, different security, and a different way of being. All our experiences are changing, and that will be challenging and confusing, and we're all different. So each person is going to experience different levels of change or challenges. All our experiences are different, and it's based on what we are collapsing, where we are in our journey, and what we're willing to heal or what we're willing to look at. And certainly what we agreed to complete, those contracts and those agreements that are lingering out there, those things that we signed up for on our mission to be here, those things are coming in now. And Another thing I'm hearing is, why am I so tired? Well, when we sleep, we're quiet. We're quiet in our hearts and in our minds. Information can easily leave us when we don't have this internal fighting urge and fear to hold on to it anymore. We aren't afraid of the release or the unknown because our minds are quiet. Our emotions are calm. Information can come to us at this time as we've shut off our brains that would normally deflect and shut down any new information or truths of something we really haven't wanted to know. Meaning if we get the message during the day, we might push it away. And when we're quiet, when we sleep, we're in our resting vibration. Not too high, not too low. We're in our resonance. We are at 0 point where release can truly be released. Not just thinking I'm going to release it, not just feeling I'm going to release it, but it really can be released. And things can be added, not just setting an intent or wishing or doing a ceremony around it, but really adding and allowing the codes and the keys to come into our energy bodies. So during this transitionary time, we need more sleep. We need more sleep to process all that is being released, and we're hungry for more information, new knowledge. A thought just came in. As we release, our bodies respond to that. So I'm curious if you find yourself getting up and using the bathroom more frequently at night simply because your physical body is releasing the things it needs or it was holding on to. Once you start healing past traumas and your body comes out of that fight or flight mode, your body will actually crave a lot more rest and silence. Your body finally starts to feel safe in the peace and quiet and calm. That's the resetting of the root chakra, that energy port that brings you peace and tranquility and stability. You aren't lazy. Your body's catching up on all the years it didn't have the stillness. It's catching up on all the years that it was fighting for stability and security. Collapsing of the timelines and healing will be experienced where you need to heal, physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritual. Combinations of those or all of them. It includes what you are able to heal, physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritual. In some cases, you won't be ready. The question will be, are you ready and are you capable? That might be where you're recalling or calling in some of the tools and fragmented pieces from past lifetimes so that you are able to heal. And Spirit says, are you prepared? If you find you're being pushed to heal something emotionally challenging, is your physical body and mental body prepared to support you? In some cases, you might go through levels and levels of healing. You might need to heal something emotionally, but first you have to heal something in your physical body and then maybe in your mental body. And then only then can you heal the piece that's wounded in your emotional body. Your personal journey into individuality and healing and understanding your layers will be different. And I've laid out a number of possible things that you might be experiencing. I get these from the healers and the helpers and the messengers of the universe, but also through what I'm seeing and working with individuals on a daily basis. Number one is awareness of your awareness, and this includes the curiosity and then understanding of your energetic body. Knowing you are more than just a physical body. Knowing that you have this etheric layer that when perforated, you have an uncomfortable sensation of all the pain in others. You can feel others' emotions. You have a hard time discerning your field from others. You explore your emotions, still trying to cover and avoid or hide them, but the universe seeks to provide situations, events, and experiences that let you experience emotions in all vibrations. What I mean by that is experiencing sadness to sheer joy and everything in between. Low vibration to high vibration. You'll feel sad, you'll feel happy. You'll question your emotions and why you feel or don't feel certain ways. You'll be triggered, and when you believe that you have addressed the emotion or the event that created the trigger, the universe will test you on this. You will feel at peace, calm, and serene, just as you will feel anger, frustration, and impatience. You'll feel those emotions faster, quicker, and sometimes more intense. We feel them all and variations of them, so we're able to learn about our emotions. My level of sadness might be different than the person sitting next to me in their level of sadness. If you do not experience calm, how would you know what it feels like? If you don't feel sadness, if you don't experience rage or anger, how would you know what it feels like? If you do not feel the variations on levels of like, love, or lust, how would you know what those feel like? This is across lifetimes, not just this lifetime. Your beliefs, your processes, your practices will be challenged. Those beliefs, those rules that you have carried in life will shift if you're not aligned in this lifetime. If you're not aligned to prepare you for the future, if you think your career or your title is important and the value of success is in your title, the universe will create a shift to demonstrate another version of yourself, another way for you to express or experience success. If your identity is not aligned to your soul, there will be shifts there also. Along all these learnings of the etheric field, the emotions and the mental, they all have masculine and feminine roles. And even your organs have masculine and feminine energy. Your emotions have masculine and feminine energy. Your etheric field, masculine and feminine. You might say, is it electric or is it magnetic? Masculine would be electric and magnetic would be the feminine. Is it observing or directing? As humans, we get the opportunity to play on both sides of the masculine and feminine energy. We get to practice and exercise the vibration of being both masculine and feminine energy until we're able to come to a central point of understanding neither is better or worse than the other, and both are always needed. It's also very powerful to understand both of those pieces of energy, both of those pieces of you, so that you can direct the energy, observe it, and act upon it in the best way that suits the situation or the experience you're having. Sometimes you need to be more compassionate and more loving. Sometimes you need to raise your voice. The same is true that you are not always able to act, but sometimes you must observe. There's balance in all. Duality exists for a purpose and a reason, and we learn what is healthy and navigatable for each of us depending on where we are in our evolutions. And we do that by observing, by experiencing, and by practice. Graduation from this is knowing that you're capable of all of it, and without judgment to know within yourself, you have the capability to experience it all, including all the ranges from rage to calm, from love to hate, to happiness to sadness, from war to peace, and everything in between. And again, I'm talking about in all lifetimes. You might not have experienced rage in this lifetime, but there has been a lifetime that you have experienced rage. You might say, I've never experienced love, but you have had a lifetime where you have experienced deep love. And this is what's collapsing so that we can take all those experiences, those things that we believe that we're void of, and bring them into current state and learn from them. That sounds crazy. No wonder we're feeling like an emotional mess, like everything's just been thrown into a big bowl and stirred up. Many of you are experiencing foggy brain, sometimes not grasping words or numbers or not feeling grounded, sometimes seeming that there's more accidents or people not paying attention, so there's potential of those more accidents, not being fully present in our bodies. In a time of timeline collapsing, the concept of time also collapses. There's only now, but if all nows are stacked up, which version of now are you present to? I know that's mind-boggling, right? If you're finding that you're running constantly late, or you're constantly out of time, or you're constantly early, or you worry about time, that's a symptom where the concept of time is also collapsing. And they're stacking up. You also might be discovering that memory issues are not remembering. Why can't I remember? Well, what are you trying to remember? What might be the story that you continue to try to tell that maybe isn't important? What's the fragment or the detail that you're trying to remember that may or may not be important? What if telling a story is re-imprinting you? Maybe it's time to create new memories. Or maybe it is something that you need to ponder, a memory that you do need to recall and define why it's so difficult to recall. Maybe it's triggering of something. The memories may be of a timeline that has already collapsed and it is no longer important, or it's no longer part of this version of you. Let me just say that again. If you have a hard time with recalling or having a memory, that memory could be a part of a timeline that has already collapsed and is no longer important or is no longer a part of this version of you. You might be experiencing synchronicities, déjà vu, or feeling you've been here before, like a version of Groundhog's Day. Repeat, repeat, repeat. You might be experiencing new people coming into your life. Some might be in and some might be out, as they're only finishing up something from the past or showing you what might be ahead. Some might stay, as they may be part of a future lifetime. And some might be just here to complete just enough and then move on. You may feel as if you're going through a healing crisis, either physical, emotional, mental, or even questioning your spirituality and your beliefs. Why am I always feeling so bad? Why am I always such an emotional mess? Why can't I make decisions, or why can't I think clearly? Those all might be what we call a healing crisis in order to define or explore, is it something that you need to look into? You may have a strong desire to be more alone, more frequently. Being in your own energy is always easier than being in energy that doesn't match or align to where you are. You vibrate to a certain resonance. Frequency is frequency, and we like vibing with like frequencies. It feels good. We're home when we're in that space of vibration that's aligned to us. It's too much work when we have to adjust and vibe in another way. You may suddenly experience a knowing of why a situation or event happened. Maybe it was something when you were a child, or maybe something that happened 5 years ago at work, and suddenly you have this glaring moment or this understanding of why it happened. Gaining clarity is part of the healing of past wounds, but also in collapsing timelines, you are forced to heal and reconcile that which was not balanced. Don't hear this as punishment or you're being bad, as the universe is only a loving energy that does not want you to feel pain. If you feel pain or sadness of something in the past, heal this so you can hold the memory of what it was that made you sad, but don't hold the emotional pain of sadness. You may feel suddenly tired or done with the current situation. I hear that quite frequently. I'm so done with this. You might find that you're now seeking change, challenge, or a new adventure. This could mean travel, education, more creativity, or the desire to seek out other people that are like you, or simply be quiet and play with this new seen energy of yourself. Soul contracts and agreements are completed or dissolved. That might also mean suddenly relationships or opportunities go away. We might experience this in those sudden endings or sudden realizations that something is done. Something has shifted. We might not know why. It doesn't always have to be an ending. It could also mean that grudges or long time disagreements suddenly are forgotten or forgiven. You might also find that you suddenly are not afraid of taking risks. You might find yourself explaining to people around you that nobody understands me. I don't know why people don't connect with me. And that's because you're changing, you're shifting. You might also notice that there is a different level of awareness with others. You might say people just aren't paying attention out there. They're not aware of what their actions mean to others. We've seen elevated crime, theft, road rage, those things feeling like they're happening closer to home. That might be true, but it also might be we're just simply more aware of those things. We might develop or have this feeling of attitude of not caring or not being present to the impacts to ourselves or others. You might experience this with employees or coworkers or people that you work with, that suddenly they just don't seem to care. You also might be experiencing yourself or those around you having an energy of giving up or lost hope, and an expectation for others to deal with the problem by simply walking away from something that is not mine to deal with. That isn't oneness. That's confusion of what oneness is meant to mean. Our human bodies and brains don't like work. They don't. An example would be a change in thought or experience. If we feel fear, we will attempt to revert back to a past action or something that helped us survive in the past. So think about this, 7 years of DNA, that might have been stealing, running, lying, harming others, or falling back into actions that allowed you to survive. That is what is collapsing. That dark energy moving into the light to be healed, to become healthy in a totally different way. Any fragments from the past alignment into one or this timeline alignment has to be focused on, healed, and move forward. So as those things pop up, and when those things come to the surface, we have to deal with them emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. That's the human experience, but we can also talk about earth changes that can also be causing or be caused by collapsing of the upper, middle, and lower dimensions. We think of the lower as being shadow. And if it is true that this is collapsing, the darkness of that shadow space has nowhere to go but upward into the light. More light workers and healers are being called to use their light and divine healing to help those individuals, those places or situations that have been in the dark, that are still trying to be dark, but now they're forced out into the light. And with this collapse, it will make some feel sadder, more frustrated. The emotion triggers of the lower vibrations, or as the shadow works its way into the light, it needs to go through a shift. And people unaware of these triggers could face more outbursts and public demonstrations of hatred, anger, imbalance. Think of all those shadow energies. And then what could you do if you experience that in yourself or in others around you? Well, first, remain calm and loving and peaceful. Get grounded, get to nature, be compassionate with those that might not understand what's happening and why. We might jump to conclusions like this is such a bad thing. And of course, it's uncomfortable and it's a challenge and it's a change, but it's moving everything into the light. As earth changes happen, you will also feel it in your body. Earthquakes can make us very achy in our hips and joints. You might feel aches and pains in your hips and joints as you're healing the energy flows within your body. All the chakras are connected. There are earth chakras, root earth chakras that are also getting shaken up, heart chakras that are getting shaken up. And our chakras are also connected to those. The healthy ones will absorb that chaos. The unhealthy ones will need to do something to heal it. Be aware of your tendencies, new or old patterns that feel foreign or off. Investigate them. Make mental choices for your actions and your moods. Decide. If you're sad, do you want to stay sad? If you're unhappy, do you want to stay unhappy? Be aware of what it is and why. And if you can't get to the why, then do something to change it. You're more powerful than you think you are. You do have a choice to choose a different way to be. So choose that. You might be choosing a different alignment. Do the work on understanding the wholeness of you, how your emotions are your compass and embody more of the feminine, how the mental body holds your beliefs and the processes around those beliefs, and they tend to be a little bit more masculine balance in your field. They provide the action. How the blending of the masculine and the feminine energies open gateways of oneness through your spiritual layer and the layers of dimension, and practice that. And I am not talking about being a man or a woman and being female is better than masculine or vice versa. I'm talking about the energy vibration that is within all of us. We all have masculine. We all have feminine. We all have different levels of each. And we all have choices of how we activate those levels. Practice how to navigate in this world where being aware of your emotions and your mental processes give you power. It gives you power to feel and take the right action to correct, to heal, or move through them. Live with goals and visions, but without expectations. I think oftentimes of buffalo. I've heard a story once that the buffalo, when they sense a storm coming, they move to the storm and through the storm instead of moving away from it, simply because they know going through the storm is the fastest way to get through it. If they move away from it, the storm is following them. So they just move through it. And sometimes as humans, we also have to just stand in the fire or stand in the storm and go through it. I recently read a book that, believe it or not, had no page numbers or chapter numbers, only chapter names. I found it incredibly discombobulating for some reason. When I'd pause and close my book for the night, I found I had a practice that I would check on the page number and how much I had left of the book to read, or I'd target, I'm going to read to the end of this chapter. I'm going to read to the end to this page number. But this book didn't allow me to do that. It was a practice I found I didn't need. It was a practice I had that I found I didn't need, that I never even knew existed until it was bumped up against, and I changed it. This is a time for you to contemplate what oneness means for you. If I were one with all, I'd be the shirt I'm wearing, the pattern on the blanket I sleep under each night, the ball that I see the child that's bouncing across the street from me now, or the birds that sing outside my window. But that then would also mean that I am the thief in the news, the homeless person on the street, the mom pushing her crying baby through the aisles of a grocery store. And then I can ask, how could this be? Could this shift how I look upon the world or how I look at myself need to be changed? Everything is the same, yet nothing is the same when you expand your awareness. Empedocles was a Greek pre-Socratic philosopher living 444 to 443 BC, sometime in that era. He was a native of Greek, and his philosophy is best known for introducing and originating the cosmogonic theory of the four classic elements: water, fire, earth, and air. And these elements are the basis of creation, where all begins, ends, and all is one. Well, changes are happening, including the basic elements and the roots of our existence of water, fire, earth, and air. Every single one of them is a riddle left for us to explore. If we may simply think water as simple as water, but as we go deeper, we learn the water content within us, that our cells contain water, that we're 70% water. The Mother Earth is water-based. Where space research searches for water in the cosmos, we find fire also gives new birth through its destructive forces. Wind carries seeds and weather patterns, and the sun feeds and nurtures us. But yet, we also are humble enough to know that there's more to us and the world than we can see. And that is evolution. This time that we're in right now, I find it amusing that I can't talk about time without using the word time and time collapsing. But this is the era that we're in right now. And it's not a bad thing. It's not meant to scare you. It's meant to understand how complex our systems are, how complex we as humans are, how magnificent we are, and the capabilities that we have to not just heal, but explore. If you can go into those past lifetimes and pick up fragments of gifts or learnings that you've had from past lifetimes and bring them into this lifetime and use them to help yourself or humanity, wouldn't that be a positive factor of evolution? And if you could go back into some of those fragments and heal some of those behaviors or emotions or patterns that are stored in your DNA, something from your past, something that might prevent you from defining a different form of success in this lifetime, wouldn't that be amazing evolution? And that is the opportunity that the universe is giving us right now. So if you are experiencing strange things happening, maybe those unexplainable things that you just don't have a definition for, just relax. Thank the universe. Understand you are continuing to evolve. The reality is you're never done. You're just going through another layer, and celebrate that. I'm Laurie Wondra of Your Life Core, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Messages from the Universe podcast with Laurie Wondra of Your Life Core. For current events or to schedule a private session with Laurie, please visit yourlifecore.com.